really deep into. Never forget it. I'll tell you after. Live. Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Manny, and I'm coming to you live from the Manny J Media headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I'm with my homie, the one, the only, the amazing Miss Dash. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the show today, and we are talking to you because there's just so much going on in your world, particularly in the world of the film industry, and you making your directorial debut, which is really cool. We'll get into that in just a few. But I would really like for you to share with our audience and with me as well a little bit about who you are. Who is Dash?
Yes. Again, Manny, thank you so much for welcoming me onto the show. Like Manny said, my name is Dash Joe. I am a filmmaker. I've started filmmaking a little bit kind of recently. I am from the native, I'm a Brockton native. I was not born there. I was actually born in New York, but because I moved here a little bit, like when I was a toddler, I basically just say I'm
you were
from
raised.
Brockton.
Yeah. At the very least, you were raised. You're definitely from Brockton.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't always matter where you're born. It's, you know, where you grow.
Right.
That makes you who you are. So.
Exactly. It's the culture around me. Tell me where to go somewhere in New York, I will not be able to tell you. But I went to school for theater at UMass Boston, and I fell in love with creating stories and storytelling and writing. And from there, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell stories, which is hard being from immigrant parents who moved to this country for you to not be an artist, and they want you to be a doctor, they want you to be a nurse,
they want you to be successful.
Yeah.
And without the struggle. Because an artist is a very hard career path, because you definitely need the passion, because sometimes there's thing after thing after project where we're not getting paid, and sometimes we're paying for that project to be completed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's hard.
It's hard. It's a hard industry to break into. And my parents were worried, so much so that, you know, in the beginning when I told them that this is what I wanted to do, they weren't as supportive as, you know, parents, you would want your parents to be. But I think they were just, scared. They want the best for their daughter. They've moved across the world for them to to set their children up for success.
And what's the country origin from your parents?
My parents are from Haiti.
Haiti.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
They moved here before I was born, and from then on, I think there was just this, I want more for you, like most parents have for their children. And, telling them that I wanted to pursue this thing, it was more so, are you sure?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the driven motivation that I have is to, basically tell my parents and other parents who are scared about their children moving on and going into art, or maybe a direction that they don't necessarily see value in, that, hey, believe in your kids, it's going to happen for them, you're going to move forward. But, I'm pushing that for my kids as well. Anyway. So I just fell in love with storytelling, and I just wanted to pursue that and continue making stories that mean something. I love art because it's a way for you to express yourself and, express how you think about society, how you think about this world, and the ways that you can change it. I'm a strong believer that art has the power to change, people's mindset without being so direct about,
I think you're right on that, in that with art, it's a way for people to, in my opinion, from the way I look at and interpret art, is it's just that it's an interpretation. It's a way to present a different perspective or interpretation of something, of anything that you are trying to get people to understand, whether it's societal, whether it's just colors. You just, maybe you want to share how cool colors work or warm colors work. I think art is a great tool for communication. And I love that you said you want to share stories, because that's my passion. It's what I do. And I like the dynamic that we get to show here. And I share stories in an interview type of style, where you share stories in a completely different way. What is your format for sharing stories?
So it comes, are you asking about like my process?
Yeah, so like where I like to talk to people and have conversations and just kind of film them and let people see as it is. I have a sense that you're in a different realm of as far as like there's more of a creative process, and we're making movies, right? It's not like nonfiction how we are here. This is real life, right? We're just having a conversation. In your world, there's more. You got to write the story. You got to put it on film. So explain that for me.
Sure. As a narrative writer, I think a lot of the times it comes with like an idea. Like I will either have a dream, or I'll have just an idea of having a conversation with somebody, and that just kind of reminds me of maybe a different component that I can add to it. So a lot of the times, my inspiration comes from everyday conversations, or if I'm going out to the park and I see something, I'm just like, what if this scenario was a little different, or, what could have inspired the scenario? I also really enjoy going to the Museum of Art.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll look at certain, portraits, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder what kind of led up to this moment, or kind of create a story.
Like what's the context and what could possibly be the ending of this one still that we're looking at here.
Exactly.
So you do that in real life too, like you'll see something going on maybe in public too, maybe a guy and a girl talking, and I wonder what that story is like, and then you kind of just create it, and then what you do is you put it into film.
Yeah, I do. Or, my mom loves to tell stories as well. She will tell stories like things that happened to her when she was back in Haiti. I'm just like, that's actually what inspired the film that I'm currently touring with right now. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But, I've taken those stories and get inspired, and I write it down in my phone or whatever. And, I start writing the script. A lot of times it takes a year for me to finish a script, depending on how long it is. Or sometimes I have all of the components there, and then, takes time for me to edit and all that. But I would say when I was in school, I was able to write and produce films kind of within like a semester, 2 semester, actually because it was a lot of pressure for us to finish film. And I think because of those spaces, it was kind of harder for you to let your creativity fully expand, express itself because you have like a hard deadline that you need to meet.
Right.
And
deadlines you're trying to like comprehend and retain and put out or use these tools that the class is providing you, and you're worried about whether or not you're going to pass or fail, and you're not just solely focused on the creative process. There's so many distractions when you are in school, even though you're learning. I don't discredit school. Please, everybody go to school and get your education. But as a creator, when you're bringing in all these other focuses, if you will, like you're focusing on what the class needs you to present rather than just creating. Yeah. I could imagine that could be a bit more difficult. Especially on a time crunch too, because with class too, you only have so much time in a week to be in that class. Yeah. And then when you're in school, you've got social life, work life, so many other things that you have to do. I don't know your process. That's what we're actually getting to learn today. But I know I have been on films myself where, essentially, the creative process ends when it ends. There's really no like, okay, we're going to be here for 8 hours today. And if you do say you're going to be here for 8 hours today, chances are you're really going to be here for 14, 16 hours. And it's not because we intend it that way, but you go and you start filming and then you see, oh, maybe I want to adjust that detail. Oh, wait, move that prop there. Like there's so many things. I got to get that shot again. Right. So I can imagine, I haven't been to school myself for production or for this type of career path. Yeah. But I could imagine just by doing what I do, that's a whole new realm of pressure.
Yeah, it is pressure, like from pre-production to post-production. And it takes a lot of money. It takes so long to like kind of finish. I remember the last film that we shot, we finished shooting 2021 and we didn't finish until 2023. Wow. Yeah. Because
I don't feel so bad about us now, John. Because I really did think we were taking our sweet old time on our productions. Well, no, not that we were, but I thought it was me. I thought that I wasn't fast enough. Like when I edit and stuff, I'm so hard on myself because like, honestly, sometimes it takes me like 6 hours to do a 30-second spot. It's crazy. Yeah. And I feel rushed when I'm doing that.
If you are like, especially if you sound like a meticulous person where you really want to get every detail, you want to get it correct, like it just takes a lot of times. I was, blessed to work with an editor, and I remember just, can you fix this? Yeah. Okay, no, can you fix it back? No, I think I want it there. You just kind of want it just right, and I think a lot of the times creatives kind of get stuck on that just right. Yeah. That and I think that was a lot of the times my issue of, okay, I'm watching this same film over and over and over again, and I keep finding errors in my ways to the point where I'm just like, this isn't the same movie. Like, let's go back to the heart of what I'm trying to tell. What is the story that I really want to tell here, and kind of go back to that. And a lot of times it, it humbles you. And one of the reasons why it took that movie to take so long for it to finish is also the money aspect.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap, especially like depending on how many people you have on the crew. How many actors, if you even have actors, like there's just so many logistics and components to it that no, it's not cheap at all. Everybody got to get paid, everybody got to eat. Equipment rental is astronomical. Listen, you see what we're working with here. This stuff, if y'all seen it, it doesn't look like what a Hollywood budget movie set looks like. But it's still expensive. It's still not cheap. I mean, even like the mics and stuff like that, it all adds up. So I could imagine, on a movie set, especially with those 4K cameras, 6K cameras now, like, oof, girl.
And I was a student. So.
Yeah. Oh, you were a student at the time on top of it all. So yeah, you're working on a student budget. Which, oof.
I ate a lot of ramen noodles. Yeah. A lot of hot dogs.
Well, how's your sodium doing?
You're currently, have a doctor's appointment for my blood pressure.
All right, good.
That part was really hard, especially trying to get post-production to finish, to wrap up the movie. Because once you say, it's a wrap on set, Now it's a whole different monster because it's like, all right, this movie, we shot the movie. Great. Looking back at everything, you didn't find an editor to be able to make everything. Then you got to mix it. Then you got to color it. Then you got to do this. Then you got to do that. And then all that you're shelling out money that is not there.
Right.
So whenever I do get a little bit of money, it's just like, all right, dollar menu at McDonald's.
Yeah.
The rest is going towards my family.
Lots of self-sacrifices, I can definitely relate. Let's just start there. So before we go forward, I just want to bring it back just a few, because there was, one thing that really stuck out to me was when you were talking about your mom, and she likes telling stories. Do you think she was one of your first inspirations as a little girl that made you say, looking up to your mom, like, I want to tell stories too one day? What was that first aha moment for you? Sorry, Oprah. That first aha moment for you, like Oprah's watching.
Hey,
Maybe she could. You never know. But that first aha moment for you when you were a little girl that said, I think I do want to go to school for this.
That's a good question. For me, I didn't notice it with my mom. Like, she was always telling me stories, but I think that was always kind of ingrained with me. What actually inspired me to go into filmmaking and telling stories was this author, Omar Tyree. He wrote this best-selling novel called Fly Girl, and it followed a girl named Tracy, and when she grew up, in the sequel of the book, she started writing scripts. And I saw myself so much in the character that I gave it a little try. I was just like, she was writing scripts, she was writing stories, and I wrote little treatments, I would say, 2-page treatments of a story. And then from then on, I just started working on it to the point where I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is what I really want to do. And I think my mother and my dad really played a huge role on it because they were always telling stories, and I didn't know what seed that was being planted in me until I became more mature, and I realized, oh, I'm a storyteller, not just because of this book or these series of books that I read, but because storytelling is ingrained in the way my parents teach lessons to us, the way that they just kind of share their lives and express their joy of the good life back in Haiti before they moved, things growing up, and it was so entertaining to me. When you're younger, you're not as grateful because it sounds like a lecture. They're telling a story for us to tell us the main story of it all is to not do this. Right. But then, as I grow older, I find myself doing the same thing to my kids. And it's just like, okay.
Preparing them for a better future.
Exactly.
A more successful outcome than what you had, so you let them know what path you took and how it worked out for you, and maybe you should take this path or avoid it depending on how that path looks for you, because for some people people they have to learn the hard way, right? So they got to go down that path, and then they can let their kids hey, look, I took this path, this is what happened, you definitely don't want to go down that path. So I definitely get it. I think that's a dope anecdote, recollection back to your past and how it got you to where you are today. So fast forwarding it back to where we are today, you're directing now. Talk to me a little bit about how you made the transition from writing scripts to directing. Or if there wasn't a transition, how those two
were connected.
Connected.
Yeah.
How that bridge connected the two.
Definitely connected. I think when I was kind of growing up, I did want to pursue being a performer. I think that was the original. I want to do singing, performing. I want to do things like this, but also I knew that it was difficult to get roles or to sing. I sang in church all my life, and when it came to performing, there was always the stuff in the back of your head okay, maybe you're not good enough for these type of things that you're pursuing. But I knew for sure that I wanted to do TV. I knew I wanted to do film. And because of the way the industry is, a lot of the times you do have to create for yourself or create in order.
You got to build your own table.
Exactly. And so when it came to screenwriting, like I could submit my work to, a contest or to get it into, some kind of agency. But at the end of it all, I knew that if I wanted to see my work getting done, because you could sell it to an industry or, to the WGA, you can sell it, but then you'll never see it come to fruition. And I wanted my stuff to come to fruition. I wanted to see myself on TV. I wanted to see myself in the big screen. So I knew that in order for me to do that, I had to direct. I had to put a team together in order for me to see it. So
Why do you feel like you had to do it? Why do you feel like you had to direct? I guess my question is, did you feel like there was a lack of representation or a lack of opportunity for you as a young black woman?
Absolutely.
There's no nicer way to put it. We got to be real, right?
Absolutely. The industry is changing, but not so much really.
Yeah.
A lot of.
I mean, it's hard enough for women, right? Never mind being a woman
of color,
from
black
the BIPOC community, a black woman, right? And then on top of it, from Haiti,
right?
Where that's an oppressed society right now. They're building, they're coming back, but it's been hard for a while.
Hard.
Yeah.
And the stories that I want to tell, it's not stories that people want to invest in, just yet.
Not stories people are telling or writing.
Exactly.
Because it's not in their wheelhouse. Let's be transparent here. A lot of Hollywood is run by wealthy white people.
Yeah.
So they like to tell their stories that entertain them or that they're familiar with. And I'm sure the experience of a young black Haitian woman is not relatable to a wealthy white man.
Exactly.
If we're being honest.
Exactly.
So that's why we say there are times where you have to build your own table. Because there's no room for us at their tables.
Exactly.
Well, at least that's what they say.
Exactly. It's hard to find a space where people want to connect with your work. And so I knew from then on, I was just like, I know what kind of director I want to be. I know what stories I want to tell. No one else wants to tell the story. I can only tell the stories. So I'm going to, no matter what. So I'm not just going to write it. I'm going to direct it. I'm going to, tooth and nail. I have to do this. And I think that's really for sure where it comes from, that drive and motivation to direct.
Yeah.
Is for me to represent a body of people, a body of women who don't have that opportunity to direct or to be in movies. Even stories about Haitian people, they're not told, and if there are any Haitian characters in a show and movie, it's not told to its true authenticity.
Right.
Where you probably see movies where people will spend a lot of time studying a certain culture, like Irish culture, English culture, but when it comes to the diaspora, the African diasporas, it's just like, oh, just put on an accent,
very stereotypical.
Yes.
And just enough to get the point across that this is a Haitian or a Jamaican, which they don't even get that right. Because I'm sorry, but there's a lot of times where Jamaicans and Haitians got the same accent, and it's not even close, because Jamaican is patois, and Haitian is more of a French dialect. Yeah. It's completely different, but they always, I don't know.
All together.
If it sounds like a black Caribbean, that's all we need.
Exactly.
That's all we need, as long as we get there. But we do want to take a moment and thank our sponsors. So I just want to leave that there, and then when we come back, we're going to dive into the movie that you directed, what it's called, how people can get into it and help support you, and what was the inspiration behind all that. But as I was saying, first I want to thank our sponsors. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you supporting Manny J Media and all we do here. John, go ahead, take it away, man.
Manny J Media is brought to you by
What's up into that? And welcome back to Interviews with my friend, Miss Dash Joe. It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and where you've come from and, you know, just kind of the background of how you got to where you are today, which is making your directorial, I could say it, debut, with your brand new movie, Molasses. It's not out yet?
It's right now touring with film festivals.
You said that earlier. Why did I say that? It is touring. I'm sorry. That's me paying attention. So it is touring with film festivals now. And I guess I was thinking like, you know, in the movie theater. But film festivals is actually sometimes even better because you get way more eyes from the industry that can really take it to a whole nother level. But let's not even get, that's a whole nother show we'll talk about. I want to talk about Molasses. What is Molasses?
So Molasses is a short film that follows a dark-skinned ballerina who wishes to pursue, you know, dancing into its fulfillment. But because of her dark skin tone, she's realizing that she may have to turn to skin bleaching in order for her to have a chance. So the movie does cover colorism. It covers skin bleaching, also generational trauma, because the person who is pushing her to do skin bleaching is actually her grandmother, who is a lighter skin tone. And the film is actually inspired by my mother, who is a darker skinned woman who was raised by a lighter skinned family. Her mom had siblings, you know, had children who were lighter skinned, and my mom of her children was the darkest. And a lot of the times she was teased, she was, you know, abused because of her darker skin tone. Her stepdad used to call...
Which generational trauma and systemic racism.
Yes.
And colorism.
Yeah. It, you know, it's a byproduct of, you know, a whole lot of nasty things that happen. And, you know, she told us one of the storylines in the film, my mom used to be called Satu, which means like that too, or that one too. When my mother was with her siblings and her stepdad was like, oh yeah, those are all Rachel, my grandmother's kids, and that one too, as a way to single her out. And, you know, I wanted to share that story because I see how the way that my mom raised also impacted me as a dark-skinned woman.
Yeah.
Being raised to want to prefer to be around lighter-skinned people, maybe even date lighter-skinned people.
Yeah. So and I mean, I'm sure your mom was worried about your experience, given her experience. She didn't want you to feel that pain that she felt growing up and being judged based off something she way beyond her control. She can't nothing she could do. Well, I mean, I guess there is things you could do. This is what the movie discusses, but it's not. It's inherently nothing we can do as far as how we were spawned into the world, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I wanted to show how beautiful a person can be just by being themselves. I think also with that, it was also a love letter to my mom when I was writing it. It's just like, you are beautiful, you are seen, you are a dark-skinned woman, and you are beautiful. It's like, it's not either or. And I also wrote it because if you were to look up ballerina right now on Google, all of them are white. And you have to specifically put in black ballerinas in order for you to see black ballerinas. And because dark-skinned women has had a history of not really seen as feminine or light beautiful as being seen as a ballerina, and it's slowly starting to get there. But so much work is needed to be done in that industry.
Actually, as you're saying this, my mind's just turning wheels. And this is a problem. I'm going to say what I'm about to say is a little bit of a problem. There is a famous black ballerina. I don't know, John, if you know who I'm talking about. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are you talking, her name is, but she's the first black principal ballerina.
Yeah. I wish I could remember her name. The fact that we can't remember her name
it's escaping me right now.
is a problem.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's only one that I could think of is a problem. So I love that you're bringing this problem to light because it matters.
Yeah.
Representation matters. Every little girl... There's only two things that I could think of ever hearing, like in movies or in real life.
Misty Copeland.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. Misty Copeland. When you ask a little girl, what do you want to be when you grow up? Chances are they're either going to say a ballerina or a princess, right? When you ask a 3-year-old little girl, it doesn't matter what race they are. But when you look at professional ballerinas,
Yeah.
not that I really do much because I'm not into ballet like that, but for people that are, there's not much representation for people of color at all.
Yeah.
When you look at the Rockettes, you know, like, not that that's ballet, but, you know, it's a symbol of like that kind of art form.
Yeah.
You know, you could see a whole line of white women, and every now and then you got a person of color in there.
Yeah.
That kind of breaks up the dynamic and gives you a little bit of dimension. But it's not as representative as it should be.
Yeah.
And especially the darker your skin, the less representation.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's
is.
scary.
It
And
is.
when did I'm this is probably not an answer a question you can answer, maybe even rhetorical or not rhetorical, satirical maybe. Like, when did dark skin become a standard of unattractiveness?
Slavery. Well, to be honest with you,
Rhetorical. I knew that. I just wanted to.
slavery. I mean, we've heard about that concept of, you know, we have the house slaves and like the, you know, darker skinned slaves who were, you know, in the field, and then the lighter skinned, the prettier slaves were in the house, and they, you know, that separation happened within colorism. You know, that separation happened, and it just kept on going. Even not just in dancing. I mean, if we look about the entertainment industry itself, a lot of the actresses who are featured in primary roles, they're lighter skinned if they are, you know, women of color. It's sort of changing, but also still not really.
Right.
Where these spaces where women and men who are of a darker skin tone, a lot of the times you'll see them in horror films because a lot of the times that's what their type should be in.
That's what it's accepted.
The darker, yeah. Even when I was in school and we had to do like certain projects or like exercises, I was even typecast in a horror-like film because, like, oh, she's darker skinned, so it makes sense that she is in a darker, moody film. And it's just like, well, I wanted to write a film where there's brightness, that there is a darker skinned woman who is the lead, and she's pursuing a role where you don't often see people like her in that space. Seeing as feminine, seeing as, you know,
beautiful.
Gentle, beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I really wanted.
And it's a real experience. It's like we're all human. We all have actual real experiences. And we're not all just typecast for whatever it is we look like.
Yeah.
So I love that you are wanting to take those experiences, because I can connect. I think John knew this. Is this my surprise, John? I started Manny J Media. I love bringing it back to me. Don't you love how I do that, guys? I started Manny J Media because growing up, I would always see in the media, in the news, black and brown people, drug dealers, gangbangers, some kind of violence, some kind of riot happening here, some kind of theft happening there, and they were never talking about what I experienced, because living in a community of all black and brown people, me being a Latino, my neighbors, you know, being a different mixture from Latino to black, I never saw that. I grew up in the hood. Like, I grew up in what was at the time supposedly the most ghetto neighborhood in Worcester. And people, like, I'd go to school, oh, I heard gunshots last night, I heard this, I heard that, I can't believe you survived, all this craziness, all this crazy talk, right? And that was not my experience. My experience was a village. My experience was my neighbors taking care of me. My experience was me being afraid of my neighbors, because if I did anything stupid, they'd tell me, first of all, I'd probably get beat by them, and then they'd tell my mom and I get beat again. But it was for my best interest. Look at what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to share those experiences that I experienced of a pleasant community, a pleasant experience of my upbringing, and the block parties we had, and the gatherings we had, and like all the beautiful things that we as black and brown people did that the media wasn't showing. I wanted to show, so Manny J Media was born. And I love that, you know, we have that commonality, and I mean, I don't know, should I love it? I do love it. It's sad that, you know, it came to the fact that we had to change the narrative, but have that commonality to want to be have the world perceive us and our communities in a better light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely necessary for us to do it, because if we rely on somebody else to do it, it's not going to get done.
Right.
You know.
And it's going to get done with a misunderstanding or misinformation from people who haven't lived the experience.
Exactly.
And it's important that we come forward with our lived experience and create a something, a piece, a talk show, a movie that interprets to the rest of the world who we really are.
Right.
So I think we're on the same page.
We are.
My girl, that's Joe. You're awesome. So we are running out of time. I don't know how. Like, this time just flew by. So I want to bring it back to you and just make sure that we get all our bases covered.
Sure.
And talking about molasses and maybe how people who want to help you in your journey and maybe uplift you and support you, how can people get involved with what you're doing?
Sure. Right now, you can hop on Instagram and go to on Instagram Molasses the movie, and follow all the updates of where it's going to be showing. I applied to film festivals in Boston. We've done a few in Boston already. Molasses has won a few awards. Thank God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're not skimming over that. Let's stop there. All right. What awards and where? First of all, before no. All right. We'll end on that. What awards?
So it's one of the most impactful film at the Social Impact Film Festival in Boston.
Wow.
And
That's huge.
Yeah.
You say it so humbly. Like, meh. Okay.
Yeah, thank God. And it also won Film of Recognition by the Global International Film Festival.
Wow.
And it was also nominated for Best Student Short, because it was a student film, Best Student Short by Boston Indie Film Festival.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's done a good job.
You got something special. You got something special. I'm pointing to John behind the camera in case you guys wonder what I'm doing. Wow.
Yeah.
This is quite amazing. And this is your student film.
Yeah.
And so I'm speechless. This doesn't happen often. But this is your student film.
Yeah.
Imagine where we're going to be in like 20 years, John. Like, I might be sitting next to somebody like the next Guillermo del Toro type deal, like, right? I don't know if you like Guillermo del Toro.
You're sitting next to the first Dash Joe.
My man, he said I'm sitting next to the first Dash Joe.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm fangirling out right now. Do you see my face? I'm blushing all of a sudden. Like, congratulations.
Thank you.
She was really about to skim over those awards. Like, this your girl?
Yeah.
You gotta deal with this all the time?
Oh.
She's amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
So, congratulations.
Thank you.
How can we got to go to a film festival to check this out right now?
Yes, right now it's doing the tour, but if you follow the Instagram, by the end of the tour, I want to do like a actual premiere for those who weren't able to come to the film festivals. We're going to be in LA next week, so it's like kind of all over right now. But follow the Instagram Molasses the movie on Instagram, so you can check out when the dates are, when it's going to pop up and premiere, because I would love for people to come and support and show love.
Well, when you're allowed, please let us know. Absolutely. I'm sure John would agree, maybe not, but I would love to host a screening out here in Worcester of that. How dope would that be?
That would be
maybe
really dope.
Collaborate with the Village? I don't know.
That would be dope.
I think it would be good. So we have a community program out here in Worcester called The Village, and it's an Afrocentric learning and healing center.
Wow.
I'd love to introduce you and have you get to meet those amazing people there. But I think that would be a perfect place or a perfect collaboration to present the film to Worcester. I don't know where. We'll figure it out. But I'm excited. This is cool. And the reason why is because, you know, as I was talking to you earlier about my personal experience with my family, with my son's mom, who's Jamaican. She's also dark skinned, a much darker tone. I had to, I had like secondhand experience of her pain growing up and feeling unattractive, which, John, you know, my son's mom's beautiful, on the inside and out, just a beautiful woman. but she didn't always feel that way, and it broke my heart for her.
Yeah.
Because I could understand it, you know, but I also didn't live in her skin either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No pun intended there, but in all seriousness, I mean that with everything I say. You know, and we would often talk about in Jamaica how there is a huge, I don't know if pandemic's the right word, epidemic of
Skin bleaching?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge.
As a matter of fact, do you watch Baddies?
No.
So the show Baddies on Zeus, do you watch Baddies? No? Listen, if you ever want to just take a break from real life and watch some really ratchet TV, listen, Baddies is a good time.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh wait, no. Is it with the Puerto Rican princess? Is that
No, not.
Okay.
But she is on that network. But no, not that show. It's another ratchet show.
Okay.
No. So it's anyway. They don't sponsor me, so I can't really talk too much about them.
Okay.
But just Google Baddies. It's not hard to find. The point is, one of the girls there, and they talk about it on this season. You can. I don't know what her skin condition is because she hasn't talked about it. But when you look at her without makeup on, her skin tone on her face is much lighter than the rest of her body. And they're like, even on the show, they pick on her about it.
Wow.
So even, and oh man, there's a Jamaican artist as well.
Vibes?
Thank you, Vibes Cartel. Real famous artist going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
And then come to find out after the whole process, well, I guess it's never really done, they're never happy. It's never a result that they thought in their mind it was going to be, just like plastic surgery kind of too, you know, like look at Michael Jackson, how many times he's went under the knife to make corrections to his nose and his lips and everything else. Forget about the skin color for a second. Just and no matter how much money you got, Michael Jackson money, you're still not going to be happy.
Yeah.
We got to love ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure without seeing Molasses, that is really the core message is for us to all love ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's free. We ain't got to pay no money for that.
Right. Gotta love yourselves. And also, you know, with the industry, hoping to change dance, entertainment, fashion, like there needs to be more representation of darker skin and all skin types.
And do you think that might be a reason why too? Is because, you know, people say, oh, I want to do that, but I don't see myself there, so let me try to lighten myself, lighten up.
Absolutely.
To get
I mean,
there.
that's what
crazy.
Gave me a pause for me as a filmmaker and wanting to be an actor, a performer. I didn't see myself because I didn't see others that looked like me growing up. It was the brown paper bag test everywhere. It was people of a lighter skin tone being in the forefront, and I want to change that.
That's wild. And there's so many subtle ways people try, like even with hair, you know, having natural hair versus like straightened hair. That is such a subtle switch to try to fit in, essentially, or I don't know if fit in's the right word, but you know what I mean? Try to get yourself ahead a little bit to be able to do
acceptance,
get your dreams, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot.
What a heavy subject. But I is there any way you can give us a little bit about, I know we gotta go, John, but I'm like super absorbed now. A little bit about how the story is told, because I know you said it was told in a light, I would say like uplifting way rather than, you know, like a dark somber way, right? What can we expect, I guess is what I'm asking, as far as the journey we're going to be going on in Molasses?
You'll experience, one of the things that I really want to focus on is lighting. So you'll see a lot of intentional lighting there, you know, making sure the dark skin is being shown glowing and beautiful. A lot of the films that you're seeing, you know, that you'll see, especially in the 90s and kind of growing up, is that black skin look ashy.
Yeah.
Like,
and blue.
Yeah.
It's always lit and like this blue, right? Am I crazy? Like I've always saw that. Yeah, it always looked very dull, ashy, and blue to me.
Yeah.
Can I say that? I don't know.
I mean, there is some blue in the film, but like it's more intentional, making sure the skin always looks like glowing, like I want it. It's like a celebration of dark skin, a celebration of accepting yourself. The story in itself is a drama. There is a little bit of humor here and there, but more so focusing. You'll see a girl who is struggling with this, struggling with her self-worth, struggling with seeing herself worthy. And you're also seeing how generational trauma impacts that because of her grandmother, and how her mom has also played the role of skin bleaching as well. And, you know, throughout the film, you'll see a little bit of dancing, you'll see a little bit of tension. I don't want to give too much of the way,
Right,
so I'm
no
like being kind of vague without, you know, but you'll see a lot of intentional moments with Molasses. One of the reasons why I even named the film Molasses is because if you think about molasses as a sweetener, it is a sweetener that also is super dark, and it changes, you know, it could change the formula of whatever that you're baking or using it into, especially if you're making a cake. Mm-hmm. It'll turn it a little bit darker.
Right.
And I kind of liked that. You know, I liked, you know, using that concept of molasses because it's still sweet, it's still a really great taste, but not a lot of people like to use it. Not a lot of people, you know, find, you know, molasses as something appealing that they want to use. They tend to use white sugar, or they use like a honey, you know. And I wanted to, you know, not, you know, if someone from a molasses company wants to promote, you know.
Right. if you want to sponsor,
exactly, you know,
please reach out. Dash Joe, not hard to find. Contact us. We'll help you get in touch.
Right. But, you know, I wanted to, you know, put that metaphor there of it being sweet and beautiful just as good.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a dope metaphor. I like that. So yeah, I really look forward to it. Hopefully, we're gonna get a screening of it soon, and we'll be able to provide some of our feedback. And I'd love to have you back so we could talk about it, go into this even more in depth. You know, as far as culture, as far as filmmaking, as far as us being storytellers from the Black and brown communities, which we don't often see, and moreover, than me. Women in the film industry is not, you know, in high roles like director.
Peter Piper picked.
Yes, that part. But women directors is not a very common thing either. Yeah. You know, so you're breaking all kinds of barriers and crashing through all kinds of ceilings. And how can I ask how old you are?
I am 33 years young.
Stop it. I really thought you were younger than that. That's why I thought it was a safe question to ask. I thought you were going to tell me like 25, you know, straight out of college type deal.
You.
But, you know, 33, you still got a whole lifetime ahead of you to make real good trouble in this world. And I look forward to watching you and watching all the good trouble you're going to be putting forward. Let everybody know how they can get in touch with you again.
Sure. So you can follow me, Dash Joe, on Instagram, as well as OMG Dash on TikTok. But you can follow me on there, Molasses the Movie, to follow the updates on the film, where I'm always updating, trying to get people in the know of how to be more involved in Molasses and the other films that I have in stock.
So you got more coming down the pipeline.
I absolutely do.
We're going to be watching. Dash Joe, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And for everybody out there, I appreciate you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us. Sorry if we went over a little bit, John, but this was just too much, too good for me. And this has just been another amazing... This is so cool. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see all the places you're going to go. This has been another amazing episode of Interviews with my homie Dash Joe here, director of Molasses. Make sure you go and figure out how you can support this film, because aside from the fact that I'm sure it's a great film, it's an even greater message that we all need to get on board with, and that is love yourself. And until next time, it's your boy Manny and
Dash Joe.
And this is Interviews on Manny J Media Community Delivered. We'll see you real soon. Peace.